Pavlov was born on September 14, 1849, in Ryazan, Russia, near St. Petersburg. His father was a priest, so he began studying at a church school with the anticipation to become a religious leader. However, in the 1870s, Pavlov became inspired by the Russian literary critic D.I. Pisarev to change his career direction and study the natural sciences. He enrolled in a natural science program at the University of St. Petersburg, where he became passionate about physiology. During his first course, he developed Avnasarev, a study on the physiology of pancreatic nerves, which became widely accepted. Pavlov completed his degree in 1875 as a candidate in natural sciences, receiving very high marks. He decided to further his studies in physiology at the Academy of Medical Surgery. Pavlov continued to be very successful and was awarded a gold medal, as well as a position as the director of the physiological laboratory at S.P. Botkin, a famous Russian clinician's laboratory, which allowed him to continue his research. Through his research, he discovered a pattern between the reflex regulation of the activity of the circulatory organs. Pavlov completed his dissertation in 1883, writing about the centrifugal nerves at the heart. Ivan became in charge of the Department of Physiology at the Institute of Experimental Medicine, where he did research on digestion. During a study done on the gastric function of dogs, he discovered his famous classical conditioning behavior. Pavlov studied the ways in which the brain changes and adapts to the environment, using the salivary reflex as it is considered a good indicator in the changes of the brain. While inserting fistulas into the dog's salivary glands, he found that they were conditioned to be stimulated. He observed that when a person wearing a lab coat entered the room, the dogs would salivate, as they were usually fed by a technician wearing a lab coat. Inspired by this observation, Pavlov conducted his famous bell experiment. At the beginning of the experiment, the dogs had an unconditioned, or natural response, salivating when food was detectable. Pavlov rang a bell while feeding the dogs, and, over time, they grew to have a conditioned response. The dogs salivated at the sound of the bell, even though no food was present. He observed that the salivation could be produced by a variety of behaviors, so long as they were associated with food. The food also had to be given with the stimulus enough times to create an association. However, it did not need to be given every time. Pavlov published these results in a study in 1903 and gave a presentation on the experimental psychology and psychopathy of animals at an international medical congress in Madrid, Spain. Ivan Pavlov applied this theory on classical conditioning to psychosis, stating that people withdraw from society because they associate a stimuli with something negative. All the while, Pavlov did not believe that psychology should be considered a science. Pavlov married Sarah Vasilineva Karachevskaya, who was a teacher in 1881. The couple had a miscarriage in their first child, and their second child died during infancy. The couple then had 4 children: Vladimir, Victor, Vasilud, and Vera. Pavlov received the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1904 as a recognition for his numerous studies. Pavlov died of double pneumonia in Leningrad on February 27, 1936.